Good morning. I know we changed the time. It's still good morning. Rashmi, long time. Isn't it like midnight for you?
It's just 10 p.m.
Really? Oh, yeah, my mornings are here.
Yeah,
Good to see
right.
you. I know it hurts that we changed the time on you. We're still figuring out. We have a cohort that we go, and that's why we are changing the time. Just excuse us for that. People in cohort, thank you for helping me fix the video issue. Today was the first session. People in the cohort can relate. Just everybody was confused. Is he's gonna do? Is he gonna teach me anything new? That. And in between, like our video stopped working. It was becoming choppy. I tried to continue. I tried to rejoin. Nothing worked. And then we got a rescue plan. The rescue plan was my workshop. So we gave them a workshop. And once they were doing the workshop, I was able to do the most creative fix ever, which is I rebooted my machine and it worked. So
It
you
works
could
just
have wasted
fine.
more time. You could have wasted more time here if it is not for them. So I know it took 5 minutes of your time today, but it was so worth it because otherwise we would not have a call. It was so choppy that I couldn't like get anything done, and we fixed it. But today, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Google I/O. Interesting. Anything else? Kalpan is here. Kalpan can do that with me together. Hi, Kalpan. Long time. And I saw Swati. Swati, long time. How are you? Say
Oh,
hi, Swati.
hello, good. Long time was out in the middle, but so excited for the session.
Awesome. So me and Kalpan may be doing it together. Kalpan doesn't know that just before this, like 5 minutes, just 5 seconds before he thought he's doing it alone. And I think Ankit will join me too. Ankit, long time too. Maybe this time works for new people. They are just like people who don't want at 9 a.m. I saw people who I see for a while. Ankit is cool. Ankit is from the other batch that we did. So I think we are good. So we can get started. Okay, Google I/O. Before I go to Google I/O, tell me what is going on in the industry, right? What are the top things that are happening? And we can start from there.
GPT 4.0.
Okay, GPT-4o. Perfect. This was super cool, right? This is what you get, right? When you're a startup, right? And especially a startup which is challenging some bigger player, like OpenAI says, we are the AI company, and we're gonna build AGI. And when they say it, they come to this like setups and they do a cool demo, and that demo just kills everything, and people start thinking like very different way. What stood out for anybody? Anybody have seen GPT-4o?
I think it's much more cheaper. That
Ah,
stood
Faster.
out for
love
me.
it. Cheaper, faster. Cheaper, faster, and one more thing that is what we do in every product, like product managers, right? Cheaper, faster, better, right?
Better.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheaper. It's not better. They didn't claim better, right? They didn't claim better. They said latest, but didn't claim better. Correct?
They did claim more human.
More human, right? But cannot. They didn't claim that it beats GPT-4 on benchmarks and it published data,
No.
right?
I think it has a voice enabled system is better on that, is what I heard. But
Yeah,
I.
yeah. That's basically increasing the speed to 230 millisecond in
Mm.
inferencing, which in itself is an amazing feat. We have spoken in this community many times that the timing it takes for getting any response varies from 1 second to 2 minutes based on your context. Can somebody tell me how can they manage 230 seconds, 232 milliseconds? What could they have done? I'm talking tech.
Uh, Caching? They have done
Caching of
Uh,
what?
I think. Uh,
So let me tell you what GPT-4o is. GPT-4o is a model which is now available for free for the world. It's the smaller, or you can say more faster model because the inference time is less, which I think is because it's smaller in size, or optimized for certain kind of workloads for size.
Yeah.
uh, you get that. And the killer application they presented is that now you can talk to AI and it has an understanding of the surroundings it has. So build on multimodal ecosystem first. Multimodal is single modality is what is modalities? What is modalities is text, which everybody's killing these days already. So if you have a text-based problem, seems like a solved problem. Then you have images. We have a lot of progress on this. You have seen mid journeys of the world, but there's a lot of work needs to happen. And then the last is video. And if you combine this with an idea of this perceptual or where you are, this context based learning, you're talking something as a world model, which has this idea of everything that exists in the world, how we learn, and world model will take us one step closer to AGI, which is if you want to build anything general intelligence, we don't talk in text. Like text comes way later in our, like, my son started walking before he started talking, right? I think it's true for all of yours. My son is not the only one. Means talking means sensible talking, right? Sensible means he can express himself. We beg for that day where we can negotiate with him, so that we can tell him a candy and then you can go down and I can teach, or watch TV and then negotiations, right? So that happens very late. But where we are, how to interact with this world, we as humans learn much faster. This is the one step. This idea of a world model is the idea that will taking us closer, and that's the next frontier for all these companies, right? All the large companies are saying, hey, we cracked this one last year, 2023. If you have any text based only problem, we have a solution for you, and you can adopt it and you can take it to production faster, right? So that's kind of solved. Then we are looking at these two frontiers. You saw Sora came out. That was they said that was like this was a spring release. That was like 3 months ago. Right? So every quarter they are throwing something big out there. So Sora came out. Sora said you can actually generate videos now by just giving prompts, and they understand and they have physics, so they look much real. And this will be commoditized as well. So this was already done with Delay, and then Sora came for this, and now what stood out for me specifically with GPT-4o demo I saw, that combining these four modalities, two basically, video I didn't see much, but looking at the images and at runtime, ability for you to do multi-turn conversations, and having context, the memory part, because it kept the memory. It was like, hey, sorry, you saw the video. In video, what happens is he says, hey, tell me where I am, or tell me how is my emotion, and the camera was pointed towards the different direction, so it start talking about like the table, and then says, hey, forget that, do this, and it did quickly. I saw the adoption of that. So we have these models for a while, right, which basically can look at things, tell you what is there in the picture. This is like if you look at Azure right now and say spatial understanding, you will see a API which tells you what is happening in this image. So you upload the API, it says man swimming on a pool, kids playing in a playground. That kind of stuff was there in 2016, 2018, right? Then we got into this world where we can say, hey, what is this, and combine it with the narrative of a human will say, because that's just what's in the picture, but how am I feeling, where I am, what should I do next, that conversation. So combining that with the text based learnings of what we get through chat gpt was one thing that stood out for GPT-4o for me. And second is this ability to have multi-turn conversations with a real thing while it sees the world that you see. So this is the first time like Ray-Ban glasses with Meta AR is making sense for me. Not for the augmented reality scenario, but the scenario that I can have a much richer learning who's who. I can just wear them glasses, and when I come back, I get a summary of what they said and what are my follow-ups. So because I go and talk to people and they tell me that they want to talk to me again, or I want to talk to them again, but then I never follow up. And those could have been the most interesting way my life would have changed. But now, if I wore that glass and it had that context, remember that. Now I'm taking you to Google I/O. So jump to Google I/O, and Google I/O had a demo where they said they took the phone and said where I left my keys, and said, "Oh, you left your keys on the where the apple is," and how it knows. You have moved from, like, if you look at like the video processing, you have moved some 2000 frames from the frame you saw. So if you look at, it's so easy for us, but if you look at machine, it has to go 2000 frame back and search, and then tell you what was adjacent to it, and then tell you how to find it. And all that happens now within milliseconds. So you see, like, if you break these down, the ecosystem that we live in is evolving to solve for AGI. And this is the next step. And hopefully, all these labs that we deal with now, every release they make, OpenAI, Google, Azure, next is Build, right? The next week is Build. That's Google's,
Yes,
that's
next week,
Microsoft.
Microsoft's next week.
Yeah, Rashmi is like, yeah, they invite, that's what they want me to watch. Yeah, so I will highly recommend all of you to watch Build. At least watch the keynote. If you have not watched the Google I/O keynote, highly, highly, highly recommended. Please watch at least the DeepMind section, which is 20 minutes only. So just watch the DeepMind one, where we talk about we, as if I they talk about, where they talk about this idea that for us, what's the next frontier, which is uh, a stable multimodal agent system, which can actually be a real assistant. So assistants are boring, right? If you just look at like celebrity assistant versus what we have. A celebrity assistant stays with them all the time, see who's who, knows who's who automatically. You need not to give them context. They know the context. They learn it. They stay with the celebrity all the time. They know which director to suppress, who to give. They have all the information about their personal life. So when they call them about something, they can prioritize for them. They tell them that, Mahesh, you're supposed to be in this call 5 minutes earlier. Mahesh, oh, here is another laptop for you if your laptop goes bad. By the way, when I went there and checked the internet and it was not good, I recommend you going to room number 34, not room number 26. All this is possible, right? It is not happening now. And that's where the first multimodal human agent is the next frontier. And you will see most of the things that trying we are people are trying to push towards is that you saw a first glimpse of that in both GPT-4o and what happened in Google I/O, DeepMind and OpenAI. I Facebook AI, uh, maybe, but I think multimodality. There will be these two players which will continuously iterate and iterate fast. So that's the preamble, because Rashmi said Google 4.0. This is the fun thing I like about this, and this is what the non-fun thing about doing the cohort. I can just pivot anywhere I want. Okay, coming back. Anything else that stood out for anyone? This is a community call. I just want us to understand and share our knowledge. Anything I missed that you loved or you want to talk about?
I think Perplexity AI is going to be no more after new Google search.
Oh, who said that? Vinod. I was like, Kalpan, if Kalpan saying it, he's paid for it. Oh. Perplexity won't be there, right? Huh. Perplexity AI. So Perplexity AI is this company which basically said, so I think this is the coolest thing about AI, that it made people build things which has 10x better user experience and compete with people who are 10 years in that business and being leader and were untouchable. That's the story of Perplexity for me. Perplexity, Arvind just came up and said, I'm going to reinvent search. and rethink it, what search experience would look like if you have generation, right? So if you had generation, then what that looks like is people trying to get in. This would be the worst community call if nobody gets in. Okay, I moved them in. Great. So I think the idea is that Perplexity is this company. If you have not tried it, this company is basically allows you to do much richer experience on search or research, because you never went there to search, you went there with something else. And how they are better? Because they answer your problems rather than giving you links and find your own answer. Second, they give sources. Very the user experience of finding, sourcing, and validating is really sharp, so you can actually verify. And then having a multi-turn conversations, which is this idea that if I ask you a question, you answer it, and then I ask you and you build on that. Search doesn't do that today. If you take vanilla search without generative AI, you search for one thing, you go do the research, and then you do another search, and then you have the onus of building on top of it and continuing and removing all the crap that you got. And by the third turn, you're no more getting anything you new in that search, right? So, but we learn by iteration, right? Why you love this community, why you show up here and not show up anywhere else, is because we iterate on things. You ask me a question, I answer, then I ask you something, you answer. So Perplexity is there. And Vinod, why would you say they won't be there? Because we one thing in Google AI was that they are saying that generative AI experience on Google search will be by default, and it will be multimodal.
They
That's
they just they just copied them.
you believe
It,
they are a copy, they are a wrapper on top of search, huh?
no, they're not rapper. They just they obviously Google built it from scratch, but if you look at the demo, it looks so much like Perplexity AI. I mean, I just feel like Google is so huge that even now they can just copy something that some entrepreneur did, put it on their search. They have such a huge audience that Perplexity will not be able to match that anymore. People
Yeah, I
automatically will
have.
levitate to Google.
Mahesh.
Sorry, I have a different opposite point of view here, and then we can debate on that.
Mhm.
I think Perplexity AI is still valuable for me as a user because I've been using it for next last 6 months. Is the context part. I can create collections, provide each context. Like Mahesh as a product manager, Mahesh as a guitar player, Mahesh as a I don't know something, and that prompts help me personalize the context based on the perspective that I want to look at. Google doesn't provide that. Maybe just like a wrapper at the top, they might come up with. But for that reason, Perplexity is still valuable for me.
Basically, this idea of a system prompt, which tells you instructions on how you want to do things. So basically, some kind of way to encode, tell your assistant to tailor for your behavior, and then everything is tailored for you all the time. What would be the challenge if Google wanted to do it?
I don't think there's any challenge. They will do it.
Context size? No.
Context size means Perplexity doesn't build their models, right? They rely on somebody else's models. So they use OpenAI or Claude or somebody else's model. So whatever context they will have. By the way, another announcement. Today we'll just announce what happened in Google I/O. Announcement is we'll discuss it. 2 million context. That means 3,000
Yes.
pages. Wow. Me and my friend, who I don't talk anymore with, we were discussing. He was building a product, and I told him that don't solve for context. It's a solved problem. It's just matter of time. He didn't listen. He still built. Don't know why he did that. But if you are basically solving for context, it's a solved problem. You will see $1 billion context, billion word context. I wanted to ask from product manager perspective, few questions here. I will park them right now, but let's finish this one. So you have system prompts. Why won't you know why can't Google do that? Google can't do that, Vinod, by the way. Or Google won't do it. But what is the problem here? Ankit?
Mm,
Ankit is like, I raised the hand for something else.
yes, I did. But yeah, so Tell me, I will try to answer it. So system prompt, could you tell me like what exactly is system prompt? Is it like trying to go different routes?
Yeah. So what happens is this is a common way how you interact with these prompt machines. So you have a system prompt, a user prompt, and an assistant prompt. Assistant is basically the model. So this
Got
is
it.
what the model, not prompt, but assistant. So you can say these three way they are dividing prompting. System prompt is you are basically telling the machine what to remember all the time. So imagine it like a memory, and they take it like a instruction in that memory. So now you can tell in a system prompt that, hey, act like a PM who is super strict. I do it for my content. If I have to go check my content, or like earlier, I used to have a copywriter who used to take everything I do, whether I have to record a video for him, and then he used to write it, but then he used to oversimplify things. Then I have to call him. Now, what I do is I write everything, but if I give it to ChatGPT and say rewrite it, it just becomes super boring. It just start putting all the jargons, and I hate jargons. So it says most breakthrough this. So what I do is I write a system prompt, say I am a strict professor, I'm really boring. I don't like if anybody modifies my way how I talk, and I hate jargons. And here is then I say user prompt, which is, hey, I have written this lesson tries to solve this problem, please only fix grammar flow. Rem- and I don't say remember system instructions, but this I need not to repeat with every prompt now. So and generally they don't charge you for system prompts, so you can put all the instructions here and then get things done. So now what Mahesh was saying earlier is, in Perplexity, he can go and provide these instructions. So now he has a very unique version of Perplexity, which is hyper personalized for Mahesh,
Mhm.
because he has put a system prompt which is like, hey, I ignore these things. I don't want to search for these things. Please take away everything that Mahesh says, or these sources say. I hate like Wikipedia sources. I hate Reddit sources. Just give me research, right? So now Perplexity will give him research. He can't do that with search. He can, but that requires a lot of coding and all. So that's a unique proposition. And why that unique proposition is not changing, why Perplexity will still have, is my question. So now we know system prompts. Kalpan, you want to take a call?
So I think
Because you
one
said you want to
reason
do it
is
with me. Mozin, you are next, by the way. You're relaxing.
uh,
Go ahead, Kalpan. You want to take
yes.
a shot of why?
I'm holding on.
Okay, Mozin, go ahead.
So to be honest, I didn't get exactly what the question is. So
Yeah,
you
the question
say,
is, Perplexity allows me to tailor, by writing some instructions on some prompt, tailor the experience of the search for me, right?
Mhm.
And the question is that, why can't Google do that? Why that won't be a killer feature for Google? Let's say that's the differentiation left with Perplexity. Why can't Google go and create that same feature? Or even if it creates that feature, why won't be a differentiation feature for Google search?
Mhm. So
Why
should
do you
we
think? Let
take
me share
this?
what I think.
Yeah, should we take this for granted? So is it a true assumption, or because I
No,
assume
I'm just
it's
creating it to think through things. So what happens is, when you're at a scale of
Yeah. Can
Google,
I
right?
take? Can
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
go
Anybody?
for it?
I always like
So I
to
think
hear.
one thing is with Perplexity is it the advantage it has, the differentiator it has is basically it can leverage different models uh, based on users' choice versus Google, who has its like Gemini model. So in terms of usability, accuracy, uh, Perplexity is well positioned to use the advantages and best features from different models, which Gemini wouldn't have.
So you're telling it has a orchestration layer between different models.
Um,
It
true.
can move
That's
towards
one way of
that.
putting it, I
What he's
guess.
saying is that, let's say tomorrow Anthropic releases the next best model. They can start serving from there, while DeepMind has to wait another 6 months. or Google search has to wait another 6 months till DeepMind comes up with new model because they have a single source. While Perplexity can go to OpenAI next month, other the next month they can give you go to Claude, so they can just keep hopping and giving the latest and greatest stuff. So that's the other moat they are saying. So they have system prompts and they have flexibility as their moat. Okay, these are the modes of any new startup, by the way, in AI area. So we are shifting that conversation is shifting to, if you are building your own company in AI, how can incumbents not take you? What you have? We know this saying, they will take you. You don't have a chance, so don't even try. That's what we know this saying. We are trying to defend or trying to see if there is something. One is you can build hyper personalization experience. And let me answer the first question, which I was asking myself, which is why won't Google go and build it? First is when Google try to, or Google search, or somebody like Google scale tries to do things, they try to do it for all. And the moment you try to develop hyper personalization for all, the kind of instructions that you need to give would be very different than what you're trying to give for a million users that you have, and you're trying to delight them rather than you're trying to generalize them. Second thing, your current monetization model that you have, which is based on how you think through things, that need to work with this system prompt, which is not trivial. Which is, once you put the system prompt, how should my links adapt? Because my link engine today goes by some page ranking algorithm, and the page ranking algorithm takes page rank, which is external to what user provides. So just integrating it and then adapting it, the quality that you get today with the links won't be trivial for somebody like Google, because that's not how the system is designed. And that's the power you have if you're an incumbent, to more and more tweak towards something that is new and novel and only can be done now. So they can take the Gen AI experience but cannot take this. I was hypothesizing. That's the hypothesis I was running in my head when I was asking all of you. Second one is little. I want to differ a little bit. I think if you look at like Apple and Android, and that's the model, right? If you are a startup, you can go, and if incumbents will have their own models and they have to rely on a single model, while any startup can go and pick the latest greatest model and build on top of it. But I think the challenges are a little different. The challenges are, if things don't work, can you actually go fix it? And Perplexity cannot. And the challenge, they will go from 10 million users to 100 million, is they have to make a lot of edge scenarios work. And that's where I think they don't have an advantage. Agree, disagree? Right? So there will be a lot of startups, expect a lot of startups, but challenging any incumbents in the domain they are on beyond earlier would be little hard. Okay. Another thing. So Perplexity covered. What are the advantages of incumbents? Touched upon. Next thing. Did they announce anything on what? So okay, Astra, an agent. What about Vio? Any clues? Anybody want to talk about that? Google I/O, new video model. What stood out for you? It can generate video, something like Sora. Sora is OpenAI. First time you can prompt or tell it what to do, and it gives you 16-second, I believe, videos which look real. What Vio gives you? What's the length of the video? Anyone? My little one
I
always
think
says,
two
anybody,
minutes,
somebody.
1 minute where you can expand, like click a button and then it can
1 minute.
expand the size.
60 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that great, right? 16 to 16. I thought that's the hard part of these, which is because now you're talking millions of frames and you have to keep the context continuously. And if you want to change, like you say, first in my prompt, I want to show a beach, then I want the same person to be in a desert, because that's what movies would look like, right? They take you through time And that's what we cannot go through time. And that's what excites us about these things as humans in movies, because we can't just play all those roles. But when we see that story to be told, we see ourselves there. And to do that, what you have to do is you have to go and do photorealistically, continuously remember and create these scenarios behind the scenes and show them. So that duration part, I thought 16 seconds would be a norm, like context for at least 3 to 6 months. Seems like 60 seconds is a good enough start. So that stood out. Anything else?
Editing capability. That means
Editing
you can,
capability. Yeah.
yeah.
And first time they actually gave it to developers, and I saw some things working. Do anybody know the timings? I don't think it's available or will be available in next 3 months. Anybody knows?
They're trying us to sign up for video effects. Yeah, there's a wait list right now. I went
Yeah,
to the
so
site.
don't expect anything like 3 months at least. Awesome. So we got that part out. We got context. Let's talk about that. 1.5 Pro, 2 million context. Do we need RAG? RAG is, what is RAG? RAG is the
Retrieval
service,
augmented. Yeah.
because keep saying, Ankit, keep talking.
Retrieval augmented generation. It's just a
Retrieval augmented generation. And why we need it, Ankit? So this is the model. I can send my prompt to the model,
Mhm.
get my response. There is something called a vector database which stores anything that I want to send, or the context of my company, in form of some kind of something called embedding, which is nothing but words represented as metrics. And these values allow them to have context, which is love, hate, and love will stay far. But if you look in a different context, they will be also same. So how you store that information is embeddings. You store all the information that is given to you as embeddings, and now you have these vector stores. And the process of not sending directly, cutting it here, sending it first to your vector database, getting the relevant context only. Not, let's say you have this huge document with 1500 pages. You don't want to send it directly. You want to send it in your vector database, create embeddings, and when based on your question, only get the pages which are relevant and send your relevant pages. That was the idea of RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. Why? Because you do retrieval first and then augment to generate, right? So if you go directly, it's prompting. If you go first retrieve the context and only give the relevant context, then you need RAG. And RAG was the only way to build production scale applications till then, till now. So anything went to enterprise generally had some kind of RAG, which made companies like Pinecone, Vector Search, Vertex, Vector Search, Google, Chroma, all rich and funded
Mm.
last year. A16Z, I think, on Sequoia, most of the names there, because this was the common requirement. So this became the shovel. If this was a gold rush, you will need this tool. And if you were using this tool for last 5 years, your valuation is like 50x now. So that's the ecosystem we live in. Now we heard that one thing is changing, which is the context of 2 million is coming. What will that do to us? What does that mean? Do we need RAG? First question is, do we need RAG?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Anybody says
and
no?
that was my question. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, anybody says no before we say yes. So Ankit says yes.
Well, that will depend on the use case. For use cases where
Mahesh always brings it like that concept. You can always say use case. Make a stand, Mahesh. Yes or no? When you say, let's say we divide it, 80% of the use cases will need it or not. Of course, there is always need for
Yeah,
everything. Yes?
correct. Yeah. Yes.
Mahesh is saying yes. This is a different Mahesh, by the way. That's not my opinion.
But hasn't there been wasn't there a big bank that did this and actually found that their performance was worse than just using the LLM?
By the way, everybody welcome Catherine to our party.
Oh.
Catherine is from our cohort. So a lot of people joined today. They are new, they're not talking, but Catherine talked. So she get to have the welcome. Nobody else will
Oh.
get the welcome now. From the cohort. Anybody from the cohort, welcome to the community. Most of the people here are kind of here for good amount of time. Uh, most of have common ground that they went to the same cohort that you did, so they resonate to their first lectures, and how confusing sometimes that could be, but I think now they are just really good, and we have these conversations. So coming back to Catherine question is, but Catherine is saying this rag doesn't work. So I think
It
there's
depends, though.
always challenges of building anything with these AI systems, but without rag it was impossible to bring anything, because 500 pages context is 200 page context is all you could take today before the Google I/O announcement. And generally in enterprise, if you're trying to ask a question which is like, hey, look at our 10K report and tell me where we invested the most of money, that cannot go. So even if it reduces the accuracy, we paid the price to build these apps, Catherine. So the bank said, I don't know who said it, means they have to enhance it. And there's a lot of things we discussed in past on how to make better retrieval, how to make accuracy of RAG-based systems. There are benchmarks which proves that RAG-based system, how should you do it, which model should you use it. And I have built 3 apps and taken to production, and all are RAG-based. So that's where we are coming from, Catherine. Catherine, you just have to say yes. This is a community. You have a lot of follow-ups. It's a multi-ton conversation.
Yeah, no, I think it's great to have a dynamic conversation on these topics.
Yeah, because the community was the idea, like, because just we have to think of scale, like cohort. By the way, new people, we are not having multi-ton conversation in cohort anymore. You can ask the question, I answer, and you can just say yes. Nothing like that, but it's just how we are scaling. So both of them, you are saying yes. Seriously, guys, this will go to billion. Why I
But
need it?
if we say that the context that we need is less than, say, the 2 million, say 2 GB kind of size,
Yeah,
then we
1,500
don't need
pages.
it. We don't
3,000
need it.
pages. Sorry, not 200. 1,500 is 1 million. 3,000 pages context, you can directly go now, and you don't need this.
Yep.
So Mahesh, with RAG, you still
But
have the advantage of very less hallucination. Even if you increase the context window to 2 billion or whatever, hallucination would still be there, right? In these LLMs.
Yeah, but they will beat the RAG hallucination. They will prove it. They will give you benchmarks. And if you still see, if you gave a 3,000 pages context to 1.5 Pro Gemini, and you got an answer which is there in the document but is wrong, let's say it hallucinated in your case, it didn't refer to the document, it's a bug that Google
Yeah.
will do. They won't say it's business as usual, do something, change your prompt. They will say, sorry, we screw up, and here is an SLA 5 days, and you use the same prompt and it will be fixed. So that's what they're signing up for now. They're saying, if you give anything that is 3,000 pages, and if the answer exists, we will answer it correctly. And they will publish their numbers, which is 95%, 95%. So that problem, let's say, is solved problem. So let's say if that problem is solved problem, why my best of people are saying yes? Ankit, Mahesh, come to the stage, come to the podium again.
I feel even using RAG, it's all about, like, it's an art and science. Yeah, you just have big context window. It makes things a lot more harder also, like how to make sure that you're picking the right information at the right time. So, and you lose control on that. That's where RAG is still needed in helping having a better chunking strategy where you pick it. So yeah, it's going to be, yeah, we can,
Okay,
it's good for POC.
I'm not ready to be challenged, Mahesh, but just take it.
Yeah, like so
Okay.
POC maybe 2 million context will work, but yeah, I feel RAG is going
But
to be
what
there.
about the token utilization? Without RAG, won't that increase?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So Rashmi is saying, Mahesh, yeah, you can use 3,000 pages, but am I going to send 3,000 pages every time, and who's going to pay for it?
Good
With
point.
RAG, I can send it with 30 tokens, and I
Yeah,
get like
cost wise. Perfect.
30 cents. But now, Gemini, if I'm asking basic question, which is like, what is the title of this 3,000 page document? I pasted all 3,000. If I would have used RAG, my cost would be at least 300x lower, right?
And
But
I think it's
let me
like a,
challenge. Mohsin, go ahead. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, I want
I
to
will challenge
say,
that. But yeah, go ahead.
so I wanted to say, like, other than sending 3,000 pages once and it adds to our pricing, it's kind of wasting process as well. Like, we know that we can have a way to find related information through RAG. So why should we, you know, send 3,000 pages for every question, and then, you know, I assume it adds to latency and processing time. So I think, yeah, when we have a more efficient way to find the related information, why shouldn't we do that? So this
Yeah.
is how I think as
And
well.
latency quadruples, right? That's
Exactly.
why we have created another announcement. This is a good way to talk about announcement. Didn't they announce 1.5 Flash? Why do Flash? Why that model? So another announcement at Google I/O was Gemini announcement. They released a lighter, faster model. Why cloud providers are going after that? You saw the same by Claude. Claude now offers 4 models. They had this Claude Small or something. They rename it, and OpenAI released 4.0, and now every provider has a faster, cheaper model. And same is Gemini Flash. Why were we doing that? Let's take a D route. We'll come back to RAG.
Product
Any
management. Product management 101, like you want to have a good consumer experience. Like you don't want to wait it out. Like as you know, like every 100 milliseconds leads to like people dropping off. So many AI use
So why
cases
can't
like
why can't I make my fastest model, my largest model faster?
Cost effectiveness. We need small models.
Then my small
Yeah,
model
and I
is less
think
accurate. Why would I play with them? Why would anybody trust me?
the use case here is making the model smaller so that they can sit on smart devices, which may or may not be online all the time.
That's not what these guys are going after. So these guys are not playing that game. They are saying somebody like Apple should play that game. They are after cloud-based models. So right now, if you look at investments or the announcements I have heard, nobody is optimizing on edge. These models like 4.0, Gemini 1.5 Pro Flash, all are like 100 billion plus parameter models. To run them, you need a cluster of edge 100 GPUs. So that problem, I think, doesn't like, yes, it's a legit problem, Mahesh, but it's not their focus. That's my
Yeah.
take. Like they are focused on building the greatest model and build AGI. So if they're going AGI, why build this Flash thing, right? Like one is I get it, right? Product management 101, which Ankit was talking about. Can I give a faster model which is cheaper, so that the consumer can get what they want? But it comes at a cost that it won't be accurate,
absolutely, yeah.
right? But one thing that I want to hear and which I'm not hearing is that what happens is once you create a largest, greatest model like Gemini Advanced, then you can use that model to distill knowledge to a smaller model. And that
Yep.
you can do in your lab, right? So if you take Llama 3, Llama 3 is basically getting trained on Llama 2 data. But if you look at Gemini 1.5 Pro Flash, whenever we release the paper, you will see that it would be distilled from Gemini Advanced. So you do all this, Gemini Advanced will never see like production. I don't see it getting used. Your largest, greatest model won't be, will have latency and cost problems, and
Hmm.
it won't be your workhorse which will give you a lot of money. It will be there for you to stay ahead of the curve. Once you have trained ahead of the curve model, You distill that knowledge, which is the technique of knowledge distillation, where we discuss that idea I think in the community, where you have a teacher which and a student, and the teacher already tells you this is the answer when you go. So you go this back propagation idea, but you also have an idea when you go at inference, this is how much I want you to be thinking, because you already have the answer from a larger model. So now you distill knowledge. And if you have that technique, then it's much more cheaper for you to go and build a flash like model, which is basically kind of accurate, not too far away from Gemini Advanced, and actually it's much faster. That's what you saw with GPT-4o. That's what you saw with Claude Instant. That's what you saw from GPT-1, Google Pro 1.5 Flash. And you will see this trend continue. And this is their biggest moat, because they're going to invest in the largest, greatest model, which beats everybody on the benchmarks. But they're going to use that, and 3 months, 6 months later, release another version of a smaller model, which is much faster, greater, and is cost productive because the effort is already going in research. So biggest challenge for large companies have been, how can they bring research to production faster? This is their answer. So last year it was mostly, is it even possible? That's why you didn't saw a lot of flash model come out. But this year it is about, oh yes, it is possible, but who's going to pay for it? So let's build that. So this is for production, that is for show off, right? Show off means staying ahead of the curve. And that model, I think, will allow us to iterate much faster into 2024, 2025. Okay, we covered that announcement. Coming back to RAG. What is happening in RAG? We are saying
Mahesh,
RAG is going to stay. Go ahead,
sorry,
Kiran.
one follow-up question. So the example that you gave to find the key, right? That is an example that utilizes the long context window, right? Because you are keeping the entire stream of frames to figure out where that key was in the past, right? So
Correct.
ideally, you want to be able to make this cheap or economical such that this can be widely utilized. So long story short, this RAG based is eventually going to go die, because otherwise the video based one, the utilization of the long context will never get mainstream if that doesn't become economical. Is that fair to say?
That's a very good angle. Yes, that's fair to say. So a few things, right? When people ask you these questions, there is always a lot going on behind the scenes, and how can we connect the ecosystem? So a couple of things we talked today only. We talked about a couple of things, which is text won't be the only modality. And if you look at vector search today, it's basically text.
Right.
It's very hard for you to put image modalities and combine them with text and modalities and video modalities and query, and then get these multi-model embeddings correctly. So there has to be a new way, and new way is the larger context. So all the new world that we will look in next 6 months, once these multimodal things are out, which is maybe hopefully next week, when people start building apps on top of GPT-4o, right? Because now your phone can see and you can talk. So basically Alexa plus plus with a camera on it which moves, right? So that's possible. If that's possible, then larger context wins, because you can have quicker conversations and you will not need a lot of context, because your system prompt can store things, and then after that you're just updating. So you have this idea of memory and building on top of memory. So that will happen. If that happens, then for multimodal use cases, will I need RAG? And let's say next 5 years, 80% of your conversations will happen on multimodalities, while today 80% of your conversation happen on text-based modality today. So Ankit is right, which is, if we're going to do text-based world, and if we want to do it for enterprise, we want to be super accurate. And if we want to be super accurate, I am left with nothing to play if I take away RAG. So RAG will still survive. But the applications of RAG in the new 80% workloads, we have to rethink. I don't see it. Uh, Maybe it's there, maybe it's not, but it's not the most significant thing that you will do. I think it will be more something else that will come up. But that's answering the question on the cost, which was a very valid reason. I think this idea that we just discussed, which is this idea of having system prompts. So imagine, right, you have this hard storage, and now you system prompt can be that. So you can store that 3000 page contract in your system prompt and then query it with very small queries, and you have to live with smaller answers. But that's what you wanted to do, right? Who wanted to send all the context all the time? It was
Correct.
just a demerit or some drawback of the current system that we lived with, and OpenAI and Azure made money on it. But once we have system, hopefully the designers or the product managers on the other side will say, okay, you pay a static cost for system message. You can store all your files, and there is a static cost, and then you pay per inference, per call on the new things or the questions or how you use it, right? It's like this model of app versus storage, compute versus storage today.
Right.
You pay much more on compute than storage.
Or IO.
Yeah, again, IO
Yeah.
and networking,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Which didn't work today. So that's all. I think we covered all Google I/O. One thing I didn't cover, which nobody's bringing up, which
Mahesh,
only Google has, I think is the moat Google has, that none of the other players have. It's the only company which have something that nobody else has. Like it has DeepMind. So what does Google have? It has DeepMind. It has 2 billion users. It has agreement from them to use their data, right? So it sees the world with 2 billion people. It has DeepMind, which can produce all modalities and bring AGI. So think OpenAI, think Facebook. Then if you're talking strategy, they have monetization by GCP, which is an enterprise play. So they are the one which can go and sell these things to enterprises in AI. So they also have that strategy figured out.
Mm.
I am missing one piece which they announced also, which was not that big deal talked in media, but I think for a good product manager working in AI, it's a big deal. What is that? That's the
Can I
last assignment I want to cover. Please help me. I have 3 minutes.
let me try?
Kalpan.
Near accurate. Sundar mentioned about the efficiency with which they are able to deliver these both search generated and overall Gen AI results. That is, he talked 2 times about it, and he said
Yeah, but
they are
that's again, I will put it in DeepMind, right? This idea that they have GCP, they have the largest workspace product on Gmail, Maps. All this is here, right? We have 2 billion users and way to monetize them, right? So this is like the biggest company on ecosystem play. But they also have is something called
Yeah.
TPU,
TPU.
right?
okay.
So they have tensor processing units. They are the only
Yes.
company which actually competes with NVIDIA. Nobody knows about it because they don't sell the hardware outside, but they are training their models on these. And they have that they release 1.6 times faster or 1.6 times faster. So follow that also. Because without this, none of this is possible, viable, feasible. Whoever has this has an advantage to reduce prices faster because everybody has to buy these guys GPUs.
Was that the Trillium?
Yes, Trillium.
Trillium.
So look at Trillium announcement. How could you miss it, guys? Cohort people.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking over it. I didn't attend, but yeah, that's one of the cohort one.
Start with that, right? First question
Yep.
is this like anything changing on the fundamentals? And AI
Yep.
chips are the fundamentals.
Mhm.
So if you look at like the 6 biggest things, obviously people are talking about the most thing that are like little bit. Always there is this, hype thing. And next hype thing is building the world model. So that's what 4O is. or OpenAI can do that better than maybe somebody else. Then there is this idea that integrating into the apps and giving customers a richer experience on the current products. So Gmail, Workspace, YouTube would look better. Microsoft has Copilot, and Copilot may be ahead, or I don't know who is ahead, but that idea, think about that. So think about what next, who is iterating faster. Think about who can actually build features faster, or what is happening in the current space, how people do things which they normally do, which is I talk to my family and I send them messages. I used to send them postcards, then emails, now WhatsApp, right? Fundamentally, things are not changing. Who controls that ecosystem? And how can they bring AI to that? So that's the second surface. You saw a lot of announcement there. And then the fundamentally what it takes to build these, like the infrastructure piece. And if they have the moat, they'll continue to rule. With that note, I made enough pitch about Google. Hopefully, we can make the same pitch. Rashmi and me will do it for build. Uh, Hopefully, next week we are not meeting. Uh, there was just this people were not available. But we'll meet week after next. I need to write a lot of stuff.
Memorial Weekend.
Mahesh, I have a question. Sorry.
Before you go ask your question, I just want to thank
Absolutely.
everybody who helped us build the cohort. Me and Chilan were so humbled. I didn't even need to say it on my LinkedIn. I thought last 7 days would be hard. We ended up saying no to a lot of people. I think we have more than what we can handle. People in cohort, no, we can handle all of it. But I'm just super blessed because sometimes you have these ideas. I think cohort is an amazing place to be because I get to have a very deeper connection, and it's a place I contemplated on that idea. Should we even have the cohort before we started? I think that's the best thing I am doing for sharing what I learn, and I'm super excited. So I want to just thank you, whoever recommended, build, or showed up here. Without all of us, we would never have that opportunity for new people and for me to write this stuff again. But that's all I wanted to say. Ankit, all your questions. Chilan, you want to talk?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Chilan. Go ahead.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
just need to make one quick announcement, and then Ankit, the floor is all between you and
I can stay today. I can stay 5 minutes. I know I
yeah,
took 5
yeah.
minutes.
So okay, well, like I mean, it's just like amazing to watch this session because like from the questions, right, you can gauge what levels people are at, you know, and I see a lot of people like from the cohort, and they have you know, some new people. So like I just wanted to say, you know, like especially the people who joined this cohort, right? I and Mahesh like look over your background, and we were just like amazed, you know, at the value add you bring to the co-op. And in the coming weeks, I'll reach out to each of you in the whole cohort and like know more about your goals, and also pair you up with your peers, because I see some synergy, you know, like by pairing up people, right? Like you will be able to progress much faster. So just don't be surprised when I reach out to you, okay? All right.
Sounds great. With that, we'll go back to Ankit, and we'll wrap up soon. One thing I wanted to say, which I thought Chilan will touch upon, please don't get overwhelmed. Uh, I think Mahesh, Ankit, and everybody here in this Mozine all started like Chilan. We all started same. Even I started same. It's just 7, 8 years earlier. And don't get intimidated by these people. They're your normal human beings. Feel free to ping them. They will be able to share help also. So use this community also. Second thing is we generally didn't allow people to get to this community earlier. We thought 2 weeks and then you should get in, but we looked at your background and we thought you can handle it. So please feel free to be here, but don't worry if you're not getting a lot. You will get it. Just give me 3 more weeks and you will get 90-95% of whatever we discuss here.
So for that, I wanted to add on like the 4 stage of learning, because like I once asked like, a very well-known professor that was once upon a time a professor, and I always like looked up to him, and then I was like, how do I be like you, you know? And then he shared kind of like his stages of learning. He was like, okay, Sheelan, that's like 4 stage. First, you were like, I don't know, I don't understand anything of what they were saying. And then the second stage you get to is like, I know everything already. I don't need you. And then the third stage, you're like, oh shit, I have gaps. And then the fourth stage, you're like, oh, well, I don't know everything yet, but I know where I can confidently find out my answers. So I think this cohort, the intent of this cohort is to move you to the last level, then like you can like go confidently find out your answers and also like contribute back to your cohort members. So well, I'll pass back to like Mahesh and I think Ankit still had a questions. Yeah.
Yeah, Ankit, go ahead. Sorry, those were just wrapping up. If you want to drop, feel free to drop. But I'm gonna be here for another 2-3 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just make it really quick. So now I'm thinking you're talking about this new world that we are moving towards, the world models. So I have always
multimodality. Yeah, just start bringing into your narrative and thinking. Go ahead.
Sure. So for the world model, is there a database which is out there? Like we're going to use VectorDB in my company. We're going to look at Pinecone Chroma, but now is there a company which can handle world models right now, or do you think it is so new?
We are just getting started. There's nothing. There's a data set that Facebook published from their glasses AR one. So that basically shows you different tasks, and that's what people are using to train what's happening. But you don't need data for these, right? These will come as a solved problems. You should think of use cases. So think of what you could do, what you didn't want it to do. Most of the enterprise will still remain boring because they are not going to redesign their whole operations. So imagine a world. I was discussing with some of startup founders the other day, and we were thinking about this, which is look at Salesforce today. What is Salesforce? Salesforce basically allows you to do sales and bring all the processes that is needed to do an effective sales at one place. So if you want to check what happened with this customer before I go talk to them, you can know it. Who's got converted, how much we made out of them, is it going up, down, all that. But all this information was already there in the emails of the company or logs of the company, because end of the day, it's your product, right? And some information that people collect outside marketing and all that also in your logs. Can you rethink this? Do you really need to integrate Salesforce for 6 months to get productive? How can you look at like all the conversations? Imagine, right? Like we have phones now and our companies give us phone, which remains all the time with us and they can access everything we do. Imagine same, like I can just connect all of my company transactions wherever they happen, in any modality they happen, like a video of you going out having a dinner with a client, a talk that you did on a phone call or a sales did, a support call that the customer did. All that is converted, put into some data, and now I just have a question, which is like, hey, what happened with this account from this angle, from that angle, from that angle, and I can get my answers. And do I need that intermediary layer of SaaS services for which we build optimized, integrated with such a pain? That's what I keep thinking. Like what that looks like, the next thing. So Ankit, yeah, you are thinking right. Just keep thinking in multimodality. Like because we had text, so we need processing, and these basically middle layer is allows us to structure that information and gives you when you need it. Imagine that's not needed anymore.
Yeah, and I'm not thinking about it. I think I now, in a way, I'm answering my own question now. We just need connectors. That's why we're brainstorming. We need connectors which will take those video, convert them into text, push it to your same vector DB, and then you're golden. You need those integration connectors, like for images and for the video, then your vector DB works. So I think that's where people should be spending time, and I'm sure Google and other
Yeah.
giants are already thinking about that. So yeah.
Ankit, that's great you told. I have a basic question. Images can be converted directly to vector DB, right? Because
Yeah,
with
the
numbers.
representation is same, right? Eventually, if you look at images, right, you are basically looking at bits and bytes. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a pixel converted into that, and that's how multimodal models are trained. And then you create embeddings, and embeddings has the text context. Now you have the same embeddings for video or
So even for
images.
image processing, there's a RAG in between if needed.
It means, yes, you can say that, but right now the query, how it works is it converts
Mm-hmm.
to embeddings and then finds similar embeddings. But the model of search of putting embeddings for similarity search and find the cosine similarity, which helps you find like
Yeah.
similar to this query in this contract, is
Mm-hmm.
mostly text. If you start giving images embeddings, this part will evolve, and it has to evolve. Today it doesn't work, so it has to evolve. And let's say if that evolves with higher accuracy, then what Ankit was taking is real. So now you can take infinite video, infinite audio, infinite images. Infinite means what your company needs.
Yeah.
And text, and maybe vector, maybe not vector. Maybe all you need is like this database, and in runtime you can make queries and then convert them and then ask questions.
Yeah. And Gariba, to your point, like building upon like what is video? Video is nothing but image frames
Correct.
at a faster speed. So yeah, so in a way it's
But the
solvable,
prediction
but
on
yeah.
that is harder, right? But if you look at like a video, the challenge is the text. We have so much like text in the world. Like what made OpenAI is that there was Wikipedia before OpenAI, and there was internet out there. Now we have TikToks, right? So we have the understandings,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we have a video format, but the video format is not matured as much as the internet has matured. How much time you have seen TikTok videos? I remember TikTok was born in like 2022, 2021. So, but it's a richer context. But what kind of videos are there? Does it has like world information? Does it allow you to represent? And what will you do with it? You can generate new videos, but you want to find information from it, process it, and answer questions.
Real,
That's
not
something to
real.
think on weekend. Okay. With that
Absolutely.
note,
Yeah.
I want to leave you all a little bit, I think, more than where you joined. And I'm leaving with a lot more than where I joined today. With that note, thanks all. And I will see you next Saturday. A very happy Memorial Day. People in cohort, I will see you again soon. But till then, happy learning.
Bye.
Bye. See you.
Bye.